What's going on, people? Level Up Media. So, in this episode of Unsung Artists, I'll be speaking about an R&B singer by the name of Jaheim. Now, Jaheim did get some recognition, particularly in the early 2000s, but for the most part, he wasn't really celebrated on par with some of his contemporaries like Neo and Mario, for example. Jaheim was born and raised in New Jersey and started singing at amateur level from the age of 15. He got noticed after winning a talent contest at the Apollo Theatre. A few years later, he featured on a compilation album which led to him being signed professionally. 1 year later, he released his debut album in 2001 entitled Ghetto Love. Jaheim has currently recorded 7 albums to date, which means he's definitely been productive. So outside of his track entitled Just In Case, a lot of people don't know about his discography because Jaheim was not really promoted like that. So I will speak a bit about his discography after we have a look at Jaheim's vocals. So to my amazement, Jaheim has a vocal range of around 4 octaves, which is extremely impressive because most good and even some great singers have an octave range of 2 to 3 octaves, so 4 octaves is very impressive. Now, even though octave range or the lack of doesn't necessarily make you a great singer, but it is an aspect that affects vocal capacity. I mean, look at Luther Vandross, for example. He has a vocal range of around 3 octaves, but there's not much people in history that can be in a conversation with him when it comes to vocals. So like I said, octave range is an important element, but it's not the be-all and end-all, if you see what I'm saying. So Jaheim has a soulful and a husky singing style, and he predominantly sings in the baritone. And at some points, he actually reminds me of Luther Vandross with some of his tones. And at some aspects of his overall music style, he does share some similarities with D'Angelo. But that being said, I still think he was unique, and I can't think of anyone that was like Jaheim. So let's speak about his music. 7 albums, and I'm telling you, this guy has some certified hitters. So most people know Jaheim for his track entitled Just In Case, and that was the song that really launched him onto the scene. But outside of that, he does have some other notable songs like Looking for Love, songs like Anything featuring Next, songs like Waiting on You featuring Miss Jones, songs like Remarkable featuring Terry Dexter. Now, that one in particular, I'm going to do a separate video of that, and I'm going to put it in my segment of videos called the Unsung Tracks, because that one is a certified hitter, and we need to put some respect on this guy's name with that track. He also has songs like Ready, Willing and Able. So you get the point here. This guy is solidified, and that's just off his first album. And if you know anything about Jaheim, you would know that those songs that I just mentioned are solidified jams. And another thing that I found inspiring about Jaheim is that his father died when he was 2, and he was raised in the projects by his mum. And instead of letting that situation dictate to him and get to him, he actually chose to become something and make something of himself. Because some people want to associate themselves with the hood, but their upbringing really wasn't like that. They're just trying to force it. But Jaheim was actually that guy from the projects. But instead of living up to the stereotypical drug dealer or robber or gangbanger, he chose to do something different and chose to make something of himself. So big shout out to Jaheim. He's definitely up there with the rest of those artists from the early 2000s era. And like I said, he was an unsung artist. But if you know anything about music, you would know that this guy is a generational talent. So that's all from me. Until the next time, I'll see you on the other side. Peace.